Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me here today at Underneath Her Skin. On my channel, I talk about and I interview people about what we go through in silence. Today, I have with me here Miss Angelique, and she is going to share with us her story about how the pandemic has changed her life and her dynamics in her household. Miss Angelique, thank you so much for joining us here today. Please,
Hi.
hi, please do tell us a little bit about yourselves, and then we're going to go right into our interview.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Again, my name is Angelique. I am a teacher and a mom of two. I live here in Brooklyn with my kids and my husband, and I teach sixth grade middle school at an awesome middle school here in Brooklyn. And I love what I do. So I'm excited to get back in September.
Awesome. Definitely. Hopefully the schools will be open, but
Yes.
either way, it would definitely be a good, hopefully we're hoping for a good school year. So,
Yes.
yes. So talking about that, last year has been, definitely has changed a lot of the norms that we are used to. And I would like for you to share with us, how has the last year been for you? It could be school-wise, at home. How has it shifted the dynamics of your home and work?
All right. The only word I can use to describe it is it's been a whirlwind. It's been a whirlwind. It's been a mix and a very wide range of emotions.
Yes.
All around. It's, it's had its highs and lows, like everything. But it's just been, it's been crazy, It's been fun, it's been sad, it's been nerve-wracking, it's been exciting. It's just a little of everything. Um, you know, I gotta say, I worked from a very early age in my life. So I've been like working consistently, for
What
at
you're used
least
to.
like 25 years of my life. And, after having kids, you think, you see shows and you're like, oh, I just wish I could be a stay-at-home mom like her. I just wish I could work from home or something and just be. And then you hear schools are closing and there's this pandemic and you don't know what to do and you can't find toilet paper and you have a
Yeah.
2-year-old and you have an 8-year-old and you're just like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And it's again one of those scenarios that you only see in movies.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And one of my favorite movies of all time is Outbreak. If
Mm.
you're familiar with it, Cuba Gooding Jr. and Dustin Hoffman. It's this movie about how this global pandemic, is plaguing our country, our world. Well, really,
Yeah.
this country and that movie. But again, it's just something that it's just in the movies. It's just those things.
It's real. You don't really believe it, right?
It's not a problem. It's just the movies, and then it's real. And you work in a school. I work in a school, and I'm in the class with 30-something kids, and I'm just looking around, and I don't know what's going to happen. Am I going to get sick? Am I going to get, bring this home to my kids? The mayor is not saying anything. The governor's saying too much. Like what is happening here? We don't know. And then we hear that the schools are being closed. And so at first, remote instruction was great. It was great. You know why? Because no one had a clue what was going on from the very tippy top to very, very, very bottom. No one had. So I sat back in all my glory and said, well, if y'all don't got it together, you'll be fully expected. I don't have it together. So we're all good, right? And it started off with just this very easy flow of post your lessons, post your lesson for the day and let the kids do their thing. Did I feel it was a huge disservice to the students, especially my special education students? Absolutely. But this is what I'm being told to do. This is what I'm doing, right? And it went smooth for a moment. Right? But again, this started in March. So we have March, April, May, June, and then we lost our spring break. So there's this resentment that's building for this profession that I love, that I don't get to do in its full capacity to the best of my ability because I'm limited. So there's that resentment, and this isn't fun anymore. Because I go to work and I have fun. I laugh my students. I joke, I'm a weirdo in my classroom, all in the name of making my students want to learn and be interested in me.
Yeah.
So this isn't fun anymore. And there's only but so many arts and crafts you can do, and new things you can bake, and shows that you can binge watch, and then it just becomes Groundhog Day. So it goes from this euphoria, it's like a snow day, you know? So it goes from this euphoria, like, yeah, we get to be home, we get to be home. And then all that dissipates. And when the dust settles and, you know, the glitter settles, all these arts and crafts I'm doing with my kids, and it's just like, all right.
There has to be more to this, right?
Now, you know, and then again, like I said, I've worked from a very young age. I'm used to getting out. I'm used to doing things. Being a productive member of society, I got to be out. I need a purpose beyond being a mom and a wife. And I just felt like I just got stuck in that rut, you know, and there were days where, like, you know, this is remote learning. So, all right, I pull back my hair, you know, make sure that from the waist up, I'm decent. And that's my day. There were days where I would just like wear the same pair of shorts, like, yeah, no one's gonna see it. I'll just put these back. Like, you know, I didn't do my hair for a whole weekend because I'm just like, oh, I'm exhausted, I'm over it. And I just started falling into this rut. And over the summer is where it got really difficult for me. It got really difficult for me because it was like, okay, we're stuck inside March, April, you know, it's really, really bad, but you know, at least in the summer I can get out and do something. And it wasn't that, you know, my husband and I, we're very active people. We love to do things with our children. We love taking them places, you know, and being outdoors and being in amusement parks and, you know, beaches and pools. And we couldn't do any of that. Any of that. And, you know, I have a condo here in Brooklyn, and the best thing I could do for my kids was to take them out into the parking lot in the back, you know, turn on the little sprinkler, you know, attach the hose to the thing and, you know, let them run around in the sprinkler and, you know, ride their little bikes around the parking lot. And so that got hard after a while because it's just like, you know, you can't see people, you can't go anywhere, you know, something as simple as a hug. You know, you take for granted. Absolutely. So it was just, the summer got really, really hard, you know, and then it was even harder because the pandemic started in March, and then the birthdays in my household, my son is May, my daughter's early July, I'm late July, my husband is early August, and all these birthdays came and we could not do anything. We couldn't celebrate, we couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't do anything. And so, you know, these things start to weigh on you. By the time we went back to school in September, I felt great to be back at work. But again, it wasn't as fun because I'm used to teaching 6th grade, special education, ELA. You know, you got these doe-eyed 6th graders that come in and you're the sun, the moon, and the stars because you're their source of protection and comfort. If you're that teacher, you know, if you're that type of person and that teacher, they know that as a 6th grader who's so unsure and uncertain in this big, big school, that they can come to you and they're impressionable still at that age, right? But then I came back in September and found out that I had 2 8th grade classes. And now you get the students who want to snicker and sneer at you when you say, hey, can you please pull your mask up? You know, hey, socially distance, you can't get up and walk over to him to show him your Instagram on your phone. And by the way, put away your phone. You know, just hearing, you know, being judged by admin for something you can't control, such as students having their cameras on, you know, like if they're home, I can't do anything. I will always encourage, but I can't force, you know, so it was just a different animal when we got back to school in September, because now I'm out of my comfort zone. I'm teaching subjects that I've never taught before. I'm teaching students who I don't know, you know, I'm not familiar with this age range. So by November, it was just out of control. I couldn't really deal with it. And it affected my marriage in that, see, my husband, when we were remote, I was home all day with the kids. And again, I have 2 children. My son at the time was 2. And it's like, you would think the boy wrote the book on terrible twos, because he just decided to give me all of it.
Wow.
All of it. Okay. And this is while I'm trying to teach live, because now we're not posting lessons anymore.
Right.
It's gotta be live all day, every day, last school year. So now this is trying to balance him, his emotions, his potty training, his, instinct need for
wearing multiple hats. Yeah.
Yes. And so also, my daughter at the time was a remote student, so she's here with me, and I'm making sure she's on and helping her with what she needs at the time. And then you have to make breakfast, and you have to make lunch, and so you have to subsequently clean up after breakfast and lunch, and then you have to make dinner, and it just became like my head was spinning. My head was spinning, and it became an issue in my marriage because my husband, I will say that I'm so grateful that neither of us were impacted financially by the pandemic. We both worked straight through, but because he is, he has to go out every day because he has to run a building. He manages, helps to facilitate running a building. He had to be out there every day. So we saw things from different perspectives, and we would have disagreements because we had resentment towards each other, thinking the other person had it better. Because here I am sitting here all day, covered in Play-Doh and Wipes and, food and laptop and baby on the hip. And like, at least he gets to go outside.
Wow.
At least he gets to see people. He gets to talk to adults.
Yes.
Coworkers. Like, if I watch Sesame Street or Blippi one more time, I'm going to lose it, bro. So I'm like, what do you mean you're upset that you got to go out there?
Yeah.
Love to get out there and be amongst civilization, And then his perspective is, what are you complaining about?
You get to be home.
You're safe. You don't have to worry about going out there and getting sick.
Wow.
So we couldn't understand, we couldn't meet eye to eye. And that
you both wanted what the other had, not really knowing
thinking the grass was greener on the other side.
Absolutely.
And it would cause like resentment, and that resentment would manifest itself in just like these petty little nonsensical disagreements. That was just like, all right, I'm annoyed with you. I could go without talking to you for a day. Just let me be. And in that, I would stew. And I would stew. And I would stew, because if it's just the 4 of us in this household and 2 of them are children and you're my husband, if I can't talk to you and if we can't help each other, and right now, we're all we got because we can't go there.
And can't talk to you can talk to people, but yeah.
So and in that, I'm very selective of the people who I talk to, as well, because I can't, the only person I'll really talk to about my marital issues is my mother-in-law, because I'm like, no one loves my husband like I love him except for his mama.
Yeah.
And I know she's never gonna lead me astray.
Right.
She's on our side, and being together. So I remembered how helpful therapy was for me, and my husband remembered that I expressed to him how helpful therapy was. And I, because my therapy that I experienced was, right before he and I got together. And he recommended, he was like, do you think you should go to therapy? Because I sat there. I admit I opened up when I was going through postpartum. I was like, I think I have postpartum, guys. And it's like everybody at the table dropped the fork, like, all right, good, you said it, now let's talk about it.
So they kind of realized it but didn't say anything?
Yes. Yeah. Now when it came to my mental health, my husband was like, listen, maybe you should get some help again. Maybe you can use somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
He recommended for me, he won't do it.
Not yet.
Listen.
Not yet. Yes.
I'm still praying on him.
Yes.
Right. I'm still praying on him, but I hope he will one day. But he was like, maybe you should, try this again. And so of course I couldn't go in, but I found a virtual therapist. And my problem is that I'm a very emotional person. I know what I want to say, and I think I'm saying it the right time, at the right way. But my husband's a Leo, so am I.
Wow.
Okay? So, we kind of like have that fieriness that you can say one thing, but the ear hears it differently.
Yeah.
Right. So if I were to express issues to my husband, his ear would hear it as I feel this way and it's your fault. So my husband, oh my gosh, I'm so tired today. Well, I came home and I did the dishes and I blah, 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 and I tried my best to help you.
Right.
So something as simple as my therapist telling me, listen, go home and tell your husband exactly this. Ready? Me telling you how I feel is not me blaming you for how I feel. I'm just simply expressing to you how I feel. I him, and it was like a light bulb.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And again, this is just this past November. And I tell you, my husband and I have been together for 18 years almost. So this is 16 and a half some odd years of, really? That's all it took? For you?
It's how they understand things. And I'm learning that as well. How they understand. If we talk their language, it comes across easier.
So therapy, again, it just gave me that release. It unburdened me. It helped me, one, to understand, because part of my therapy is a support group of other teachers. And not only are they teachers, but they're mom teachers. Some are married, some are not, but everyone has that element of, we had to go through remote learning.
Right. So you share that.
Hats,
right.
How we balance that. But it's just been so, it's just been a release.
Yes.
And it's helped me also because, again, when I first started therapy when I was younger, and I stopped before I met my husband, you go through things as a married woman that you don't go through, as
so true.
20-year-old, and as a mom, and these experiences and different ways to communicate, because it's not about you anymore. It's about you and 3 other people.
Right.
And, you need to learn how to facilitate, and navigate those relationships and different personalities, and also get your voice heard.
Yeah.
So, it helps me a lot. It helps me not only in my marriage, but as a mom, even as a teacher. I will say, my co-teacher, who I love to death, Miss Rosanita Maletta, love her. Yes, she's amazing. I'm so blessed to work with her.
She's awesome. Hi.
She said something to me in June. And again, she said something to me in June, and it meant a lot to me. She said, Angelique, one thing I will say about you is that throughout this whole process, you didn't change. Now, I will say that I didn't change professionally.
Okay.
Professionally, I went through a lot of stuff behind the scenes. But again, like my mom, I'm that type, and it's just not even because I saw it from my mom, but it's something that I believe. You don't bring your work stuff home. You don't bring your home stuff to work. So I could be going through anything, and no one at work would ever know anything except for Rose, because I would confide in her. But she's like, you didn't change. And as far as my profession, as far as my work, I didn't. It ended up being such a burden at first that after therapy, that was my happiness when I got to go in and see at least some students, in person, and the rest were behind the screen. But it was just that same energy, that passion, that joy was restored.
Yes.
And it just feels so good. And I'm just really happy that I was able to get the help that I needed, because it helped me just feel like a person again, and just enjoy life despite its limitations at the moment,
And I appreciate you sharing your story. And I would tell you that you're not alone. And I will definitely link a video here that I did. And I will share with you because our situations regarding this is similar. My husband, the same way, went out to school. I was home with the girls. I have two girls, 6-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Okay.
And as a social worker, I have a caseload. And then with the pandemic that happened, you know that it's not just helping the student as you normally do. Now you're helping the whole household.
Yeah.
Right. And that was in itself another aspect of things because families did not know, as you mentioned, what to do. So this was just new for everyone. And my then 4-year-old or 3-year-old, I don't remember. She's 5 now. So acted somewhat similar to your 2-year-old, your then 2-year-old, because they had remote learning and it was very hard for me, so juggling the two and everything, I literally had a breakdown. Yeah. And I said, my husband and I had to have the conversation. He didn't want them to go back to school because we live in Long Island and they opened school back, I think November or either between November or January. I don't really remember the exact date. And I said to him, I cannot continue, so I called the teachers and everything and got some information. And I said, okay, they have to go in because I didn't feel like I was being the best parent, the best worker. I wasn't doing my job effectively because it was just too much. As you say, the multiple hats that we had to wear. So I say that to say that you're definitely not alone. Many of us had to shift hats. It was a lot. And I share the same feelings some of the same feelings that you're experiencing, where it really messed with my mental health, and it really took me to a place where I was like, I don't think this is safe. This is not good for any of us here. Yeah. So I definitely share those sentiments with you, that it definitely shift a lot of our home life, our, work life, and even our, marital life and just the family in general. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely understand that as well. So now that even though right now we don't exactly know what the next couple of weeks is going to look like. Right now, I believe they're saying we're going back into the building. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the plan. But what advice would you have or would you give? You are a teacher, from a teacher's perspective, from a mom perspective, mm-hmm. Let's say parent, right? What advice would you give to families who are, going back to school and not be sure? Let's say for parents who are sending their kids to school and not entirely sure what to really expect. How would you kind of like encourage them in some way as the teacher going through this pandemic? What is something that you would like to share from your point of view?
Well, I mean, this piece of advice I think is beneficial for teachers and parents. Like, just expect everything to change. And when something seems solid and everybody seems like they got it all figured out, it's going to change 3 more times after that. So I have found that, the best way to deal with things, especially when it comes to change, is to expect change, to be adaptable, mm-hmm. Don't spend time complaining about it, because that is fruitless. It gets mm-hmm. you nowhere.
Right.
You spend complaining about something, you could be investing in finding solutions,
especially when you have no control over it,
Exactly. Now, as far as sending kids back to school, I think etiquette is more important than ever. Mm-hmm. Etiquette, manners, hygiene. Mm-hmm. It starts at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
It starts at home, and we have to teach our kids, social distancing in our day, it was called personal space.
Personal space, yeah.
Called personal space, and I used to teach elementary school, so I've seen my little ones huddle up and just want to push all up on each other and personal mm-hmm. space,
Mm-hmm. Boundaries, yeah.
Again, it starts at home. Parents, please, if you have it, look, we got 2-3 weeks before we start school. If you have a child, especially like my son is entering pre-K, and I'm just very happy with the fact that not only does he wear the mask without an issue, he actually likes it.
Yeah.
Because again, he was 2, so we started off just telling him he was a ninja and he was really cool.
Making it fun, yes.
Yeah, and if he was going to be the best ninja, he had to wear his mask, because ninjas have to hide their identity, mm-hmm. So if you have a pre-K or kindergarten student who is just entering that classroom environment for the first time, please make sure you get them trained into keeping that mask on, and teaching about personal space and proper hygiene, understand that as hard as it is on the parents, the kids got it even harder because they look to us. They don't have to have it all together, they look to us. So just be patient with the kids, listen to your child, talk to your child, and it's hard, to do it all.
Yeah.
Parents, it's our job to find a way to make it work. There's no excuses, and we don't take days off. So accept it for what it is, and do your best to maintain your mental health and be there, because it starts with you. If you're not the best version of yourself, what do you have to offer to anyone? So that would be it. Be flexible and understanding.
I absolutely understand, and indeed, and I think one of the best things too that I have learned throughout the last year is to be in communication with the school.
Absolutely.
And I think that was one of the best ways to help families, because if we do not, for the school that I work in, America Academy, a lot of the families did not have devices, equipment, Wi-Fi, all of these support at home, where household that have like the grandparents who do not know, they're not tech savvy, and all of those things. So it causes a lot of drop in just the learning environment, because a lot of students missed out, even though they were remote. So I think having an open communication with the school, and even if it's something even more personal than just not having those devices, communicate with the school so that the school can be of much more support to families as possible. And the teachers, because a lot of times families, they like to keep things on the hush hush. But I've learned that from this experience, the school working closely with the family and understanding the nature and the dynamics and the shifts in the families, it was better. We were better able to assist families and children alike throughout the year.
I think also, if I may, one of the most important things, I feel like there's also a stigma attached to people admitting that they have COVID, especially when it comes to reporting it to school, right? Because in a school building like mine, that one omission can infect hundreds of people.
Absolutely.
So, no politics or anything attached to any of my statements, but it is a fact. If your child is feeling sick, I know it's easier said than done, because we have to worry about taking a day off of work, or, I'd rather miss out on a day of pay and know that I protected my child and other children and other teachers, So when you can, to the best of your ability, if you or your child are sick, stay home. And if you do get a positive result, report it to the school immediately. You could save hundreds of people from getting infected.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And on that note, thank you so much for joining me here today. Again, Ms. Angelique, and for sharing your experiences with the pandemic, working from home, having to help 2 children at home as well, wearing multiple hats. As mothers, I'm telling you, we are absolutely superwomen, beyond superwomen, because
superheroes that don't have capes.
You know what I mean?
That's what it is.
We do not need the case, because it's like we're thrown into so many situations, and we just get up and go and do what we have to do to make sure everything operates as smoothly as possible. And even though sometimes we lose ourselves in the midst of it, thank you so much for seeking out mental health care, for understanding and seeing that you're at that place where you need it. And I think a lot of times people do not get to that place where they say, you know what, I need that. And I think it's very good that, you're sharing your story in your experiences to let others know that when you realize and you see those signs, and others around you can also confirm those signs, it's good to say, okay, you know what, I need to get some help. And if you are not your best self, you will not be your best self for your family, for your children. And I would say this 100,000 times, they need you, and they need you to survive. So do whatever you can. Self-care is the best care.
Yes, it is.
So do whatever you can to make sure that you are well and you are safe for you yourself and your family. Miss Angelique, thank you so much again for joining me here.
Thank you for
And
having me.
no problem, anytime. Here at Underneath Her Skin, we talk about what we go through in silence, family, and lifestyle content. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.